Welcome to our class on Python loops. Looping in Python means we are repeating something over and over until a particular condition is met or satisfied. In Python, we have two loops. We have the for loops and we have the while loops. So we'll be starting with the for loops. In Python, the for loop is used to iterate over a sequence. By sequence, I mean a list, a tuple, a dictionary, or a string. So in this class, we'll be using several scenarios or examples to demonstrate how for loop works. The first, like the pattern we've been using, is to create a party jollof server. Let's go ahead and create that. So we'll say party people equals. So let's have a list of the party people, right? And we'll open square brackets. We'll say in the party will be Auntie BC, right? Comma. In that same party, we'll have Uncle Dayo, right? We will also have cousin Tokpe. Last but not the least, we'll have our neighbor Ngozi. Okay, so we have successfully created our list. So let us use or apply our for loop to use it to serve each person in the party. So we'll say for guests in party people, we'll close this with colon, okay? So let us print, open parentheses, use the F string and say, oh yeah, we will use curly braces to say guest, comma, come collect your jollof. Let's go ahead and run this code and see what we will get from it, okay? So click to run the code. So you can see as we run the code, it say, Oya Auntie BC, come collect your jollof. Oya Uncle Dayo, come collect your jollof. Oya Cousin Tope, come collect your jollof. Oya Ngozi, come collect your jollof. So you see, it iterates over a list. And that is why we said that the for loop is used to iterate over a sequence, right? And that sequence could be a list, could be a tuple, could be a dictionary, could be a set, or a string, right? So that is why you see now it's iterated over this sequence. Auntie BC first, Uncle Dio second, Cousin Tokwe following, and Ngozi last, okay? And remember what we use here. We use an F string, and we say we use F string to basically put a placeholder, like put our variable within a string. All right, so we are done with the party server, right? So let's use another example, the price market checker, to look at how or discuss how for loop works in Python. Let's create a variable with a list, say pure water prices. In Nigeria, pure water refers to table water that we have in sachets, right? So that's what pure water means, in case you're asking, okay? So now we have pure water prices, say 50 naira, comma, 70 naira, comma, 90 naira, okay? So we want to now check which price are high. So we will now say for, you remember this for is for the for loop we talked about, right? Price. So say for price in what our main list is pure water prices, right? For price in pure water prices, okay? So since we use the for loop there, we will close it, right? So hit enter. So we'll say if price is greater than 70. So remember, when we talked about the if, we say when you state the if, you also have to do it to close it. So now let us print an F string, okay? Because we want to insert our variable within a string, right? That is why we use the F string. So let me just enter N for Naira, okay? Okay, so we'll open our curly braces to insert our variable, right? So we'll say price, right? Let's put question mark. We'll say, now pure water I want by or na gold. So this is basically saying that if the price of pure water is greater than 70, so the person will respond that, is it pure water I want to buy or I want to buy gold? It's kind of a sarcastic response, right? Okay, to just say that the price is too high. Let's start from if, right? We'll say else. Remember when we're discussing our if and else, right? I said, so if we have just one condition to test, we don't have to use the elif, right? But if we have more, we need to use the elif. So we'll say else print. What would be our else? That is, if pure water price is less than 70 naira, right? So say else print. Let's use the F string again because we want to put price there. We'll now say N for the naira symbol. Open our curly braces and say price, right? Then we'll respond, say correct price, okay? Correct price. All right, beautiful. So what do you think our output will be? So let's look at our code again. We declare the variable that holds the list and we say pure water prices is 50 naira, 70 naira, and 90 naira, okay? So say for price, right? In pure water prices here, if price is greater than 70, print na pure water I won't buy on a gold. Else, say if it's lower, say correct price, okay? So let's run this and see what we have. We see for 50 naira is correct price. For 70 naira is correct price. For 90 naira, now pure water I won't buy or na gold. So do you get it now? Because we use the for loop, we have what? An iteration over the list sequence. It's not going to stop here. It's going to go through our entire list. So let's use the for loop to create something to track Danfo bus passengers. Okay, so let's say hash Danfo bus passenger tracker. So let's write this code and see. We want to declare a list of our stops, right? So we'll say stops equal. So we have stops at Oshodi. We have another at Yaba. We have another at CMS and another at Ikeja. Okay. So we want to declare a variable called current passenger, and we'll say that variable holds 0, right? So say current passengers, and we'll say this variable holds 0, okay? So we want to declare another called bus capacity, and we'll say this bus capacity variable holds 18. Let us print downfall. It's a string, so we'll say downfall, they move. So let's use our for loop now. We'll say for stop in stops. So we want to collect an input. So we'll say boarded equals, so the input will be an integer. So say input, open parentheses. We will use the F string. How many people enter for? We want to insert that variable stop. So let's put a space here because we want to collect an input. So we will now create another called alighted equals. So we want to collect another input, and that input is an integer. So we'll say input, open parentheses, and we want to say how many people commot or so now the stop will be referring to this for stop here. So we want to use curly braces to refer to the variable stop, right? So add a question mark and give space for the input, okay? Current passengers now. You remember we had a variable, say current passengers, and we say that variable, current passenger holds 0, right? But now we want to add the, say, current passengers, okay? Current passengers now will be plus equal boarded, right? Minus alighted, right? You know, boarded here, we are collecting an input. So it's a variable that we collect an input. So alighted to the same thing, okay? So whatever our answer will be from boarded minus highlighted will be added to the current passengers variable, right? So the plus equal here adds a value to our existing current passengers variable and assign the new value to that same variable. I hope that is clear. So we'll say if current passengers is greater than our bus capacity, if our current passenger is greater than our bus capacity, so we will close this print, open parenthesis, F string over load for, we want to add the stop variable, so we use the curly braces, overload for stop. So let's use exclamation mark and say LASMA will catch us. So you understand? And put an exclamation mark. Else, that is to say, if current passengers is less than bus capacity, print F string, safe trip, and we are saying safe trip to who? To current passengers. And we'll say passengers stay inside. Okay, so we have inserted our conditions within our code. So let us print downfall, don't reach, final, stop. All right, so let's just go over our code one more time. So we created a variable holding a list that have our stops, right? The downfall bus will be stopping in Oshodi, Yaba, CMS, or along, right? So we declare the variable current passenger that holds the value 0. And another variable bus capacity that holds 18, right? So we now print downfall the moves. But now we use the for loop to iterate over stops, right? So in Oshodi, for instance, there are numbers of people who will board the vehicle, right? So these numbers will be imputed here. There will be integers. So now the highlighted, when we get to the next stop, it's possible that some will highlight and some will board, isn't it? Now, that is why we wrote this and say current passengers plus equal boarded minus highlighted, because our goal is that we want to have the bus capacity of 18. So if for any reason, right, that's why we use the if current passengers now is greater than bus capacity of 18, let it print overload for, that is the next stop. All right. Okay. So now this is an F string because we needed to put this variable stop, right, in between our string. Okay. So else, if the current passenger are less than bus capacity, let's say, okay, print safe trip, passengers they inside, then print downfall don't reach, final stop. So let's run this code and see what we have. So downfall they move, right? You see it. We printed what? Downfall they move. So downfall they move. How many people enter for Oshodi, right? You see it's iterating over our list, over this sequence. All right. So if you say 5, right, indicating 5 people and hit enter, it will say how many people come up for Oshodi, because we want to use boarded and highlighted. Let's say 2, okay? So the balance will be what? 3, isn't it? Save 3 passengers they inside. How many people enter for Yaba? So we are iterating over now to Yaba, isn't it? Continuing that process. So we'll say how many people enter for Yaba. Let's say 10, right? And hit enter. So how many people come out for Yaba, right? Let's say 3, for instance. So how many do we have now? We say save trip, 10 passengers they inside. You see? So it continues this iteration. So how many people enter for CMS? The next iteration in this list in stops is CMS, right? So that is why it says how many people enter for CMS. So let's say 7 people hit enter, and we say how many people come out for CMS. Let's say 1, hit enter. You see that save trip, 16 passengers they inside. So how many people enter for Ikeja? Now is the turn of Ikeja, which is the last item in the list. So let's say right now we have 16, right? And we say our bus capacity is what? 18, okay? So let's just say 5 to see what happens. Say 5, you hit enter. So how many people come out for Ikeja? So let's say 2, hit enter. Then you will see what happens now. It say overload for Ikeja, last go catch us, right? All right, so let's look at the while loop now. Remember, in the beginning, we said the while loop is used to execute a set of statements as long as a specified condition is true. So as long as that condition is true, we'll continue to loop over that statement. Let's look at some examples using the while loop. I like jollof rice. So the first is going to be jollof rice cooking timer. Okay. So let's say jollof rice cooking timer. So we'll declare a variable cook time. Okay. And that variable will hold the value 0. And we'll now declare another variable jollof done, jollof done, and it will hold the boolean false. Let us use the while loop now. The while loop is written as while. So we'll say while not jollof done. All right, we close this. Print, open parentheses. Let's use the F string. Cooking for. We want to insert the variable cook time. Then we'll say minutes. Okay. So we are saying print cooking for whatever our cook time will be in minutes. So we want to now say cook time plus equals 5, right? So we'll say if cook time is greater than or equal 30, close it, jollof done will now be equal true. Then let's print, open parentheses, and say the string jollof done set. That means jollof is ready. So let's go over this code again. We declare the variable cook time that holds the value 0, another variable jollof done that holds the value false. We use the while loop. We now say while not jollof done, print cooking for cook time minutes, okay? And we say cook time will be plus equal to 5. While discussing the for loop, we discussed what this does, okay? This constantly adds 5 to the cook time, okay? Now, if cook time is now greater than or equal to 30, right? And jollof done equal to true, print jollof done set. Okay, so let's run this code and see what we get. You see, we have 0, 5, 10 every time, right? Every time it loops through that sequence, it adds 5 every time, right? To the cooking time. So cooking time at 0, cooking time is now 5, cooking time is now 10 minutes, cooking time is now 15 minutes, and so on. So cooking time is 25 now, okay? So the next one, what do you think it will be? When it's greater than or equal to 30, that is what it says, right? Say jollof done set. And so that is it. So jollof done set. Let's write another code to exemplify while loops in Python. And this example, we will be creating a generator fuel watch. So we want to create a variable called fuel liters, okay? And this variable will hold the value 10, all right? So we want to create another variable, say NEPA light, okay? And this NEPA light variable will hold the value false, okay? Then we'll now use the while loop. We'll say while fuel liters is greater than 0 and not NEPA light. Okay, we close this, we've used the for loop. Let us print, open parentheses, and F string, say generator the run. Then we want to impute our variable, say fuel liters is left liters, because this time we are subtracting, so we'll say minus equal to, right? This time we are subtracting. Then we go and say if fuel liter equals 4, we close it. And now NEPA light equals true. Print F string NEPA don't bring light. Switch off generator. All right, so let's run our code and see how it performs. So we run our code now. It says generator they run 10 liter left because we say fuel liter is equal to 10, right? It continues, generator they run 8 liters left. And this subtraction, like I said, this time we are subtracting, right? It comes from fuel liters. Now, declaring that fuel liters is equal to -2. So we are taking 2 every time from the fuel liter 10, okay? I would like to show us how we use while loop in creating an NYSE Camp Q counter. So let us write the code now. We want to write a code for NYSE Camp Q counter. We'll import time. We also need random number. So we'll import the module random, right? We want to write a variable Q length. We hold the value 50, and then we'll create another variable, say total time, and total time will hold the value 0. So we print NYSE camp registration Q, all right? So now we want to use our while loop now. We'll say while Q length is greater than 0. Let us close this. We'll now say print, okay, the F string, and we'll say time, insert our variable. We'll say total, you see it here, we have a total time. And our total time will be in minutes, right? So we'll say in minutes, okay? So let us insert this to separate our total time and Q length. So we'll also insert Q length here. So insert Q length, and now we'll say people remain. Then our variable total time, we have total time will be what? We had our total time equal to 0 initially. So we want 5 minutes to be added every time. Processed equal to random dot. We are now referring to our random module we imported. So say rand int, right? Random.rand int. We'll say 3 and 8. Okay. So now will be Q length. We want to subtract from Q length, right? Q length will be minus equal processed. Okay. Let's go ahead and write our if statement now. We'll say if random dot random, right, less than 0.3, close that. New joiners equals random dot rand int 2 and 5. Print the F string, new joiners. So we'll say new people join Q. So Q length will now be plus equals new joiners, right? We'll say time.sleep 0.5. Let's end our code with this print F string. We'll say total time. We are inserting the total time variable here now in minutes, and we'll say copper don't tire. So let's run our code and see what we have written. But before we run our code, we will want to go around and see what we have written to see if we have any error. So you see here, we wrote random instead of random, okay? So random, go around to see if you made any error while writing, okay, before you run it, okay? So I think now we are good to go. So let's run and see, okay? So you can see now that NYSE camp registration queue opens in the first time we have 0 minutes, we have a total of 50 people remaining. When it was 5 minutes, we have 47 people remaining. 2 new people joined the queue, and we have total time 70 minutes, say copper don't tire. So here, if you see to write total, we had a typographical error, but the reason why it didn't have any error in our code was because total was a string, so it had nothing to do with whether our codes run well or not. So let's rerun it, and you can see how it goes, okay? So you can try this out and tell us what you got. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember to subscribe, share the link to as many people as possible. Let's get more people to join this challenge.